From time to time, I'm going to have guests on the YourMakingMe.com video series. Today, I've got on my Gadget Guy friend, Greg Gazin. Greg, we're going to get down and dirty with the iPad mini. Wait, that sounds kind of gross. Let's do it! Hey everyone, Kevin Oxner here, the author of the motivational fable Diamonds and Silver, and of course the creator of Mega Productivity. Today what I'm talking about is my Gadget Guy friend Greg Gazin, and I wanted to sort of get an idea. He gets all these gadgets in, and I'm always saying, well, how can I get you on You're Making Me in a productive sort of way? So today I've got a couple questions for you, Greg.
Okay.
Now, I've got iPhone. My wife and I both have iPhone 5. This is hers because I'm recording on mine, so no, I don't have a baby blue case on mine. Now, the question for you is, I know also there are iPads out there. The question for you is, where does the whole iPad mini fit into all this?
Well, as you can see here, Kevin, the iPad mini is smaller than the full-size iPad, but yet it's actually larger than the iPhone. It's 7.9 inches across. As you can see, it's actually quite thin. And the neat thing about it, of course your hands are bigger than mine, that you can actually fit it nicely in your hand.
Yeah, needs two hands really to use the iPad.
Yeah,
fairly well.
For the most part. I mean, a lot of it depends on what you really want to do. Now, it also depends on how big your purse is. I mean, your wife's purse
yes.
is. Because this would fit nicely in your purse. It doesn't quite fit in a jacket pocket, but it will actually fit in a side pocket. I mean, the reality is that most of us carry a phone, a smartphone of some sort. They're very handy. We got thousands of apps or hundreds of thousands of apps that we can use on them. But of course, we're limited with screen real estate. Now, with the Retina display on the iPhone 5, for example, you can certainly read a book. It's actually quite doable. But it's nice to have a larger form factor to work with. Or if you're on the road and you're looking at maps, then it makes a lot more sense to be able to see something that's full size. Now, you might also be carrying your laptop with you. And so you might decide, okay, you don't want to necessarily carry your laptop and an iPad and an iPhone. So perhaps when you're on the road for something smaller, you might just want the mini. The other nice thing about the mini is it comes in at a lower price point. In Canada, the entry-level mini with Wi-Fi, they start at $329. They're really small. They're really thin, and they will run all of the apps. Now, what you've got in your hand there is the iPad 2. We already have the 4th generation iPad, but this is the iPad 2. It has a resolution of 1024 by 768.
Right.
The iPad mini has exactly the same resolution, so that when you're running the apps, you're actually not going to lose any quality at all.
For the most part, it could be a price point, or it could be just more of a form factor issue where the mini will go some places that the iPad will not go.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do, especially if you're traveling. You might want to save some space, or if you're working on a tray table. I mean, the iPad works just fine, but the iPad mini might be a little bit more practical. Now, I know that you do a lot of presenting.
Yes.
And so depending on how good your eyesight is, if you want to use your iPad instead of using paper, which is something that I've started to go to, then probably the full-size form factor iPad would probably make more sense, because you're taking an 8.5 by 11 sheet and you're shrinking it down to 9 inches. I'm finding with the iPad mini, if you're actually going to be having it on a stand, it might be a little small. But I have found that, for example, if I'm doing a TV spot or a radio spot, then having the iPad in front of you on a stand propped up, it works just fine. The big thing is getting rid of the paper. Not to mention that both of these have like a 10-hour battery life, and it's a lot easier to get them through security at the airport. So there's a lot of reasons why you'd want this over the other. Oh, I see. Excellent. My screen's gone off.
That's all right. Well, good tips, Greg. I appreciate you coming by.
Oh, you're welcome,
letting us
Kevin.
know about this. Now, as far as, because you've owned versions of every iPhone ever made, every iPad ever made, every iPad mini ever made, what do you think? If I have a choice, and if for my productivity, for people who are watching, would you choose the big one? If you had the money, would you go with the big one, or would you recommend potentially getting it if you've never owned an iPad before?
Well, if money was no object, Kevin, I would just say buy one of each.
There you go. Aptly said. Thanks again, Greg Gazin, the Gadget Guy, and again, I'm Kevin Oxner. Take care. Hey, everyone.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Cut that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Woohoo!